This is Garcia's Diaries.
Welcome to the Garcia Diaries podcast. I'm your co-host, Bethany Garcia.
And I'm the other co-host here, Anthony Garcia.
It's been a little while since we've released a new episode, and we are going to explain why. We've had a lot of messages and comments and whatever asking if we had quit. We did not. We did not quit. We just needed to take a breather after, some things that went down. Life
happened. We just kind of had to take a break. So we didn't quit. We're not quitters over here.
Yeah.
But we just definitely needed to take a step back and just kind of chill, relax, and figure some shit out. So
yeah.
But I think the last podcast we did was in August.
Yes, August 1st, I think.
Since then, the girls,
they started school.
Back in school.
Yep, that's been a big adjustment, having both the girls in school, for I think the whole family.
It's been a huge adjustment. So we've been keeping pretty busy with that, trying to manage lives around the school schedule. And
Anthony's been at the school almost every day. He volunteers and helps with lunch, and it's so cute.
Oh yeah,
he's like the Mr. Mom at school.
But I know for myself, having two kids in school and trying to just kind of adjust from being around, especially Harlem 24/7, to kind of releasing her, been kind of difficult. We're 2 months in now, so obviously now it's pretty easy. But I mean, early on it's
hard.
It was really
it's
tough.
hard when you're like handing over this life that's been literally formed by you and you alone, and you're putting it into an environment where it's like being shaped by everything around it. Like all the other kids, the teachers, the helpers, every single one of them is imprinting on her. And it's just kind of like scary if you think about it, or cool if you think about it, like however your perspective is. But like all of these people are now having an effect on her life.
And especially for myself, like I'm the helicopter dad, so I've been so involved in everything, prior to school starting. I still want to be involved, but then at the same time, it's like, hey, I have to kind of release her.
Let go a little. Do you think the girls like having you there for lunches twice a week?
I think, yes, I do. I think they do like it now. I'm sure one day there's going to...
I was going to say, I think they're at the age where it's cool to have your dad there.
But one day they're not going to want me around, and so
sure.
I guess right now I'm going to take advantage of that much as I can. Yeah, so I mean, catch me after school 2-3 days a week doing my thing. So they should put me on payroll, but that's a story for another day. But so it's been 2 months since we've done a podcast.
What's changed in the past 2 months?
We're 3 months into me,
being home,
staying home, and I will tell you, it's been great, and it's been pretty shitty. But we've went through some things. We've made some changes, some choices. Life-changing events have happened.
In the past month.
And it's all for the better. All for, the good, the future of the Garcia family, for Bethany and I. So it's been fun, but...
Fun? That's not how I would describe it. Oh, it's been emotionally exhausting.
Yeah.
You think it's fun?
I will say this. I'm so much more busier now, I feel like, than I was when I was working a 9 to 5. Like,
yeah.
Where the heck
But you weren't even
time?
working a 9 to 5 either. You were working like a 6 to 6.
Yeah, but I feel like I had more, like, I don't even have time during the day to sit down and watch TV, I feel like.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
But we're still going strong. There's only been a couple of times when I've contemplated going back to work.
A couple.
But we're chugging, so,
Yeah.
Gonna get back into the vibe of things. We'll stop beating around the bush here, and what did we do that was...
So life-changing?
Yeah. Well, we can't say exactly what we did.
Yeah, we can't say. Okay, here's the thing, you guys.
If we tell you, then we'll have to kill you. But so we won't tell you like any.
We can't say network, show name, any like descriptive details because of our like NDA and contract and all that good stuff. But we can say we filmed an episode for a reality television show,
and it will be on a major
network,
and it's from your cable provider.
Yeah, it's airing in January, and it was the most intense, emotionally exhausting, insane 2 weeks of my life. Like, it was literally every night I like told Anthony, like, I don't think I can do this anymore. Like, I just want this to be over. I just want this to be over. And then, like, on the last day, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm kind of sad that this is over.
I will say, though, like, I 100% understand why, I feel like especially childhood actors, kids that grow up in the spotlight of always having your life kind of looked at through a microscope?
Yeah, microscope.
No, what's the big thing? The magnifying glass.
Oh, okay.
Why they like
either one works.
Why they turn and start to like do hardcore drugs and my
Go
guy
crazy,
from Home Alone.
shave
Like,
their head.
I understand why you kind of just fell off, because for 2 weeks like I couldn't like pass gas without somebody hearing.
No, I literally had it when I went to the bathroom. I would say, "Can you please turn my mic off?" And then I would go to the bathroom and like cross my fingers that the sound guy's not a creep. But no, he was so nice.
But after that, I mean, it makes sense now, and I feel for people that have to grow up in that. Not
have
saying
that spotlight.
Not saying it's like horrible. You know, it was fun.
Horrible. It was
fun but horrible. All right, but enough stalling, because it was some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously, I can only speak from my perspective because I'm myself. But for me, the experience was life-changing. Would you agree, or is that just for myself?
No, I totally agree. Like, it was completely life-changing, life-altering. Like, I feel like everything's just different now. And I feel like there's still things that we're, like, working through.
Different.
Yeah. Like, way better. Way better. There's still things that we're working through and trying to adjust and trying to figure out. But just overall, like, I feel so much happier. I'm, like, getting emotional right now. I've been talking about it.
So without getting too deep, let's get pretty deep. It was like therapy for myself.
It was like, here's how I would describe the whole experience. It's like therapy. So just imagine like your typical therapy session where they're peeling away layers and you're getting emotional and you're exposed. It was like that, but for 10 days straight and filmed. Like, it was so intense. And I have to say, like, going into it, I thought it was going to be completely different than what it was. Like, my expectations were completely different, and not like in a good or bad way, just like it was completely not how I had pictured going into it. And the focus was really on you and me versus, you know, there's a lot, obviously as a family there's probably a lot of issues in every family, whether it's like the kids misbehaving or how you parent or whatever, but the whole thing was just very, very focused on you and I in our marriage.
Same for myself. Like, I went into this process probably with the wrong intentions. TV show, obviously the Garcia Diaries is our livelihood, and so for me it was like, hey, any exposure is good exposure. So I was just going into this like, hey, I'll go through the motions, say whatever.
But did you think we were a good fit for this?
I did. Yes, I did think we were a good fit, but I didn't think we were like the same as everyone else, or I kind of felt like, well, we're like, yes, we have issues, but we're better than everyone else that's ever done this.
And for me, it was like, I didn't want the exposure of all that because I knew like how shitty everything is. And so I was like, oh my God, like I don't want that on TV. Like I don't want this side of me shown.
Well, the thing for me, it was like, hey.
So it's like opposite for us.
Getting the brand out there, like the more people that follow you, that, you know, that are involved in the Garcia Diaries, that's more money, what it boils down to. And for myself, it was like, I kind of felt like, hey, we've already opened up about so much of our lives. Like, it wouldn't be out of the norm for us to do, you know, it's not like we've painted this picture of this perfect family that doesn't have issues, you know what I mean? People, everyone listening to this, everyone that follows you knows, like, hey, we have issues, right? And most, or everyone, whether they want to admit it or not, has issues. Yeah. No one's perfect. So I kind of felt like, hey, we've already exposed ourselves, you know, allowed people to, you know, we've talked about in-depth crap and stuff like that, that what's a camera in our face, you know, 24/7. And you're right, like, I totally wasn't expecting it to go the way it did. Yeah. But it was everything that we needed.
I didn't know we needed.
But everything we weren't looking for. Like,
it's just so crazy, like, just even thinking about it, because, you know, when we were going through the process of, like, getting ready for this, and it was, like, such a long process of, like, a million different steps, and through every step I was like, oh, I kind of hope we don't make it to the next round. Oh, I kind of hope we don't make it to the next round. And you were the one that was like we should do this, and I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do it. And it's just crazy how it turned out to help us so freaking much in ways that we never could have imagined, in ways that we never, like, knew that we needed.
And before we go any further with this, it's just crazy how even for myself, like, how you can put the blinders on and think, like, and say, like, oh, hey, like, yes, I know we have issues or that we need improvement in this area, but, like, I could justify some actions. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, even for us, like, because there were things that, like, we kind of shared about ourselves, but we didn't share all of it. Mm-hmm. Or there were things that we were going through that, not that we compared to anyone specifically, but, like, oh, well, there's people that are going through this, so this is what makes our problems fine. Or, you know, does that make sense? Like,
you kind of downplay it, yeah.
To our followers, like, hey, we've shared stories, we've shared past things that we've gone through, but we still kind of kept, you know, it's like,
you keep some things private.
Private, exactly. But I think even for ourselves, like, we knew we had issues, and we would deal with them with a Band-Aid, right? We would just push them aside. Yeah. Not realizing the long-term effects they would have on us. Yeah. And I know you posted something on Instagram, and there's something I want you to clarify, though, because you got messages and people thought, like, our marriage in that moment was on the brink of destruction. I don't think it was, though.
Oh, when I posted that we had done the show and that I said our marriage was hanging on by a thread and I didn't even know, and that it helped us and blah, blah, blah. You're talking about that? Yes. So, yeah, I think I chose my words wrong in that instance, just because I more so meant that our marriage wouldn't have survived, like, another 5 years. Long term, exactly. Or another 10 years. So, and, like, if it did, we would have been fucking miserable.
In that moment, like, we didn't have divorce papers on the table, but we were able to realize, like, hey,
it was things
this isn't sustainable.
Yes, exactly. It was things that, it was like, if we had kept going how we were, we would have either just been miserable, hated our lives, or we would have ended up divorced. And I don't doubt that we would have probably gotten divorced, because we're both so stubborn and hard-headed. And I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm talking about maybe 10, 15 years from now, when we have nothing in common and don't even know how to talk to each other because all the kids are out of the house. Like, that was the most important thing for us, I think, is, like, learning how to, you know, be a couple without the kids.
Exactly. So I'll just kind of kick it off here. But things that I learned
went through
about myself, went through, and then we'll just kind of kick it to you. So for me, and I've said it on this podcast before, there were moments in my childhood, in my younger days, that were pretty shitty. I've seen things, gone through things, heard things, had to experience things that really no one should ever have to go through. Obviously, there's people out there that were brought up in worse situations than I have, but
it's all relative.
Exactly. But for me, I've always been someone who I've always looked at those things and always said, hey, I'm gonna do better. I'm not gonna put my kids through those situations, or I don't ever want my kids to feel those feelings that I felt at certain times.
Right.
And I feel like for myself, the bad things kind of motivated me and pushed me more than the good things. Because I believe that there were more, I don't want to say maybe not bad, but more negative things that happened than positives. So I carried that with me, all through life, even till now. So I've always gone through, before I had kids, as going out, obviously I'm still a father now, but it's, hey, I want to be better, different, change things. But and I think the hardest thing for me, and I'm gonna get it out there now, I cried. It was because I realized that I had become and was becoming everything that I had told myself I would never do, or that I never wanted to put my kids in those situations. For example, there were times when I'd wake up in the middle of the night and my parents were just beating on each other, or I came home from school one time and there was blood all over the house and the laundry washing machine, and my mom was nowhere to be found, and I thought my dad had killed my mom. Things like that. So I don't, and that fear that I had, I always said, like, hey, I'd never put my hands on a woman. I'd never beat Bethany and hit Bethany, because I know how that made me feel as a kid when I would see that and experience that. But on the flip side, I learned that I was doing that exact same thing, but with my mouth. I was verbally lashing out at Bethany, low blows, cutting deep, things like that I didn't realize were having that same effect on my kids. And to the point to where my son would turn around and talk to his mom in the same way that I would, and he was kind of feeding off that. Or Brooklyn would come to me and say, Dad, quit being mean to Mom. Things like that I was like, oh, just kind of shrugged off, not realizing that at the end of the day, I was verbally abusive with my tongue, and not realizing the impact that was having not only on Bethany, but to the kids. And that I was creating that hostile environment that I had grown up in. But just me, that coming up, calling a spade, that's what I was doing. It literally
shook
me, and I was so embarrassed, I was so ashamed that that's who I was becoming. And that's, it was literally a repeat cycle, right? Even I wasn't beating Bethany physically, but I was beating her down with my words. And oh man, I've never felt worse than in that moment. And I just kind of broke down.
I think we had to stop filming too after a second because you were just having a panic attack.
Literally, I just wanted to, if I was a turtle, I would have gone into my shell and not have come out, because I was so disgusted with myself. And I knew obviously I knew it was wrong, right?
Right.
To talk in that manner, to be rude, condescending, whatever you want to say. I knew it was wrong, but in my head I would justify it, right? Well, I'm not
putting my hands on you.
Yeah. I shouldn't be talking to you like this, but I'm not doing other things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And this is like kind of what we were talking about. Like, we talk about our problems here and there, and we're real, but there are some things that are kept more private, that are like swept under the rug. Like, I'm not going to get up on the podcast like in previous episodes and say, oh, Anthony's verbally abusive to me, but I never even thought of it as that. I just, like, that was just our dynamic, and we didn't know any different.
And we had become so comfortable in that you would talk to me that way, I'd talk to you that, it was just like, it wasn't right, but it was what we were used to.
It was toxic.
We would, and people would bring it up, and we'd be like, hey, that's just the way we are.
Yeah. And I would I literally had someone bring it up in the past, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, he's not rude, he's not condescending, he's not mean, like, he blah blah blah. And looking back now, I'm just thinking like, oh my God, like,
people could see it, but
we couldn't.
And the biggest thing I learned in all of this, I was so focused on not being the exact same person or same parent that I had, right? I didn't want my kids to go through the exact same things that I went through, had the same struggles and things like that I didn't realize I was creating those same problems, just in different ways.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I realized, like, hey, yes, some things in my childhood and my life have sucked, but I've been so focused on those things that I didn't realize the issues that I was creating for my own kids, in my own marriage, in my relationship with my wife. So I had to take a step back. And obviously, I love my parents. I forgive them. They were only doing what they knew, what they had been raised in, and I'm sure they were trying to make a better situation than what they came from.
Toxic cycle.
Exactly. And say, you know what happened. It's molded me, it's shaped me into who I am today. But from this day going forward, I'm not worried about what happened to me and that projecting that onto my kids. I'm going to start fresh. We're going to create our own narrative. Luckily, we went through this while our kids are still so young.
Yeah.
Brooklyn will probably be the only one that remembers this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I still have time to rewrite the story.
Mm-hmm.
And Brooklyn, Harlem, Deuce, Bronx won't have to remember their dad as being some grumpy jerk who talked down to his wife and yelled all the time and was filled with anger and rage, but that I could change myself, work on myself, treat Bethany the way that I would want my daughters to be treated, how I want my son to treat his wife, and life changing, like cycles broken. It sucks. Like, sucks realizing how crappy of a person you are. Even because for myself, like, I thought we were doing great. We were better. We had, my kids have more, what is it called, the word? Momentary.
Physical things.
Physical things, and they have all the toys they could ever want, and I was just focused on the wrong things, because at the end of the day,
it was like, okay, well, I can go buy my kids these material things, and they're living a better life than I lived.
Exactly.
And that makes it all okay.
And I'm not beating you.
Yeah.
And things like that. Yeah. So, but none of that matters. You know what I mean? I would, try to fill the void of myself or my problems by buying them toys. Mm-hmm. And, instead of working on myself and being the most amazing father that I can be, I wasn't focused on that. But I think I'm rambling on a little bit. But for me, like, it's a trickle down. How I treat you, how I really feel like you like set the tone of the day for like everyone. That's a lot on my shoulders. It's a lot of pressure, I know, but I really feel like you just have that personality. Well, the Bible says, husbands, wives, submit to your husbands. I can't. You sound like my dad right now. But for me, it was life changing. I cried.
Yeah.
Don't be shocked. I don't want to hear nothing from nobody because I already told you guys. I don't know if I'll ever cry again, but I cried. My life, I never had my core ever it's just a crazy feeling. But and it's obviously it's been a month, almost. Hasn't been perfect, and every day I'm having to examine what I say. Before I say something, I'm actually thinking about it.
I think it's just what the first step was acknowledging everything, and now it's every day we're just practicing. It's practice to be better and to change it for ourselves and for our family, which sucks, and it's not a fun process. I will say that it's all this self-realization is not pretty or fun, but it's so freaking worth it.
Exactly. And you know what? Because of the commitments that Bethany and I have made, one day our kids aren't going to be able to have this conversation. They're not going to be able to use us as a crutch.
That's the hope,
And that's the kind of, it's a great thing to think about.
Freeing,
our kids aren't going to be able to sit there and oh, my freaking dad. No, they're not. Because you know what? Dad worked on himself. He's continuing to work on himself to be the best version of himself that he can be for us.
Yeah, it is a freeing feeling to think about our kids in the future, not having to have therapy for childhood trauma. That will be
childhood
great.
trauma from us.
Yeah.
So for me, I learned how much of a dick I was, how horrible of a person I was. Even though I don't think I was that horrible, I was pretty bad.
You say that so nonchalant.
I mean, I can't get any lower than crying on live TV, whatever. But once again, I'm gonna publicly apologize to my wife. God, I've been doing that a lot. I'm sorry for the way I treated you, the way I've acted. It's very immature. I'm still immature. Don't know if I'll ever be fully mature. But we are doing this. We're going to make some changes. It's been good. It's been hard. Every day's hard, but so rewarding.
Yeah.
But, babe, obviously you had a different upbringing. You had different childhood than I had. You had different emotions through this whole process.
Isn't it crazy, though, how they said, we had such different childhoods and stuff, but our trauma is so similar, and the way we deal with things, they kept basically saying how similar we are.
Well, yeah, because the way,
and we're not similar. What are you talking about?
Because the way we reacted, it was how our parents reacted, right?
Yeah.
They would react in anger and
so
violence.
Basically, what we learned is that Anthony's reaction, he lashes out and goes outward, and it's all out. How I react is I go inward. I resent. I just go into my shell. I go into this dark hole and just compress. What's the word? Not compress. I don't know.
Just kind of shrivel up.
Yeah, I shrivel up and die. No, I just kind of hold it all in. And so one of the big things for me was I was so scared of confrontation with Anthony because of how I was raised and the things I went through as a child and a teenager. And so through all of these things, there were so many times where I didn't stand up for myself, so many times where I didn't confront things that I didn't like or didn't bring things up that I wanted to bring up because I was just I didn't want the confrontation. I didn't want the reaction. And so one of the things, we basically retaught ourselves, how to have confrontation that's, healthy and normal, which I think has been really big for us. And obviously for me, there's still that fear there just because I still have to work through all those things from my childhood, which is why they recommended for me to be with a childhood trauma therapist. And so that's what I've been doing, and I'm trying to convince Anthony to to come with me.
Not gonna happen.
He doesn't want to go.
I got enough therapy for my life.
He's like, that 2 weeks was enough for my whole life. No, it really was intense though, and like it didn't give therapy a good look as far as something that you like want to go spill your guts out and cry the whole time. But it's, for me, I feel so much better.
But like, pause, like, side note, like, I'm an ugly crier. Like, I don't know how to cry. Like, I don't cry much, so I was like,
you haven't had practice.
You know what I mean? Like, thought I was constipated. So like, that's even worse because like you cry all the time. So like you know how to cry. I don't. Like, I didn't know how to. I was just like. It was just a side note. So why would I want to go to therapy? And I know not gonna happen.
Yeah,
I'm
no.
not gonna pay someone to freaking tell them my problem. This was fun because they paid us. So.
Shut up! Oh my god, I can't with you.
But anyway, back to you.
Yeah. So basically, what was really eye opening for me, because it was like, I'm trying to say this without like giving things away, but
give it away.
we were told, you know, you were both raised in homes with domestic violence and childhood. You both are like really have a ton of childhood trauma. And I'm sitting there thinking, no, I wasn't. And they're like, did your dad ever hit your mom? Yeah. Once or twice, a few times, once a month. I don't know. I didn't keep count. Were you ever hit as a child? Yeah, but, and you know what I mean? Like, and then the pieces just started like falling. Like, I just started seeing the full picture, and I'm like, oh my God, like that's domestic violence. And I never put that together in my head. Like, I can do it for other people. Like, I know Anthony was raised with domestic violence, but I never put that together for myself. And like, once it has a label like that, I'm just like, oh my God, like what the hell? I never even realized. There was moments where I'm trying to like discipline Deuce and he's being bad, and I just start like laughing, and they're like, why are you doing that? Why are you laughing? You're supposed to be disciplining your child. And I'm like, I can't help it. Like, I literally can't, like, and so basically we like got into that. I was so triggered by how he's like screaming at me and reacting and whatever. Like, everything in my parenting basically correlated to things I've gone through as a child and teenager. And it was so incredibly eye-opening. Like, I can't even put into words. You guys will have to watch it. But like, I don't know. It was just so crazy for me to realize that all these things have had such a long-term effect on me. And like, I want to be different for my kids. Like, I want to change. I want to be better. Like, I don't want them to not take me seriously because I can't get through talking through something with them without laughing. I don't want them to not respect me because I lash out and I get angry when they're just like, I don't know. There's so many things that I've had to work through the whole thing. And I've also learned like how controlling I was, because like, I need to be in control of the situation, or else I feel like when I'm not in control, I feel like something bad's gonna happen, or like, I don't know.
Well, you do know.
I don't know. It's just so hard to talk about. It's easier to just say,
well, this
I don't
is
know.
a podcast. All you're doing is talking.
Ooh. There was a lot of realization for things in my marriage of like, when Anthony talks to me a certain way or treats me in a certain way, and I just turn around and react by freaking out. And I'm not saying what he's doing is right, but like, my reaction's not right either. But my reaction is because of how I was treated and how my dad talked down to me like that, and how I was treated and verbally abused as a child. And so like, my flight or fight response kicks in, and sometimes I just like fight and I can't stop fighting, and then it's just like takes such an emotional toll on me. And so there was just so much learning that took place of like how to respond and react, and just learning why we do these certain things. And I can't believe how much of it correlated back to how we were raised.
And that's so key, because we both knew things weren't not right, but like things needed to be improved. We needed to work on things because
we talk about it constantly,
and we would talk about it and say, okay, this is what we're gonna do. Yeah. And then 2 days later, we were back to the same old thing.
Yeah. We didn't know how to break that cycle.
But we couldn't understand like how to make changes with certain things if we didn't know the root cause of them, right?
Right.
Exactly, that fight or flight is what we'd seen, and that's all we knew. So it was like either, hey, I'm gonna fight you until I win, or I'm just gonna fight, leave, and concede, and you win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I'll just like walk away, and at any given time. And that's also like, for me, it's just like, okay, I have the last say by walking away. And I feel like we would just fight and fight and fight because neither of us wanted to give in and be like, but then I also feel like I would come groveling back like every time, like saying I'm sorry, even if I didn't do anything wrong. Or if I didn't feel like I did anything wrong, I would still be like, I'm sorry.
Exactly. And here's what's crazy about this is, because that's what you saw your mom do, right?
Right.
No matter what, your mom would always come back and apologize and try to fix the situation. Where with me, my mom won't talk to you for a month. Yeah. It's just crazy how...
It's basically like our moms got married.
Exactly. But in a nutshell, we, were raised in ways that affected us now. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to do everything we can to make those changes so that way our kids aren't raised in the same manner that we were. And that starts at the top. So Bethany and I were working on ourselves and doing everything that we can to be the best versions of ourselves. Because when our children become parents, guess who... Because when our kids become parents, the only example they're going to have had is us. Yeah. And
without even knowing it, they're going to be just like us.
Just like us.
Just like how we've...
Whether they liked it, whether they agreed with it, whatever. They may pick and choose things, but like we were...
For years we said, like, we don't want to be like our parents. We don't want to be like our parents. And like, we didn't even know we were exactly freaking like them.
Little did we know we were our parents. Yeah. We love our parents. But... time to break some cycles, time to break some generational curses, and
move forward.
So
yeah, all this to say, very emotional, very intense, very exhausting. Oh my god, I feel like at like 4:00 every single day we were like ready to go to sleep. We were like, oh my god, how can we do more of this? Like, this is insane.
So to wrap this up, here is the 60-second recap of the show if you decide you don't want to watch it. Anthony's a dick, very rude, grew up in a horrible situation, very mean to Bethany. Bethany runs and hides. Bethany holds it all inside till she can't hold it anymore. Boom! Explodes. Anthony and Bethany are mean to each other. The kids see them being mean and they start to act mean as well. Cycle continues. Bam! Intervention time. Anthony and Bethany learn about how horrible they are. They start to make changes. Guess what? Kids start to act right. Tune in next year. The end. 44 seconds.
He literally timed himself. I can't handle it.
But it was fun.
God.
And all of that emotional
turmoil.
No, through all of those emotions through the roller coaster of emotions that we went through while filming, we had to take a break. And we had to take a step back, and we discussed like, hey, we want to be as open and transparent as we can with the Garcia stands. Just kidding.
I hate that. But
we want to be as open and transparent with you guys as possible, and we realized, hey, we have been open, but we haven't been 100% honest. So we had to take some time, work on ourselves, work on our family, work on everything.
Because I think when we came back, we wanted to be honest.
Because guess what? And I can admit this 3 months later. I quit my job prematurely. We weren't ready. Like, we weren't ready. Like, I don't think we were ready for me to be around you 24/7.
But is anyone ever ready for that?
No, but
that's what
we
I'm
weren't.
saying,
But we can only speak on us. We
yeah,
weren't
but
ready.
no, I'm just saying.
But
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think prematurely is the right word.
Exactly, but we weren't ready. So we took the 2 months. We have a routine down. We have a schedule going. Like, things are vibing. The house is clean. I know when people come over, it doesn't look clean because literally all I do is wipe asses and mop the floor, and it's asses are still dirty and the floor is still dirty. I don't understand, but it gets done. You know, we spend quality time with the kids now, like things that weren't happening before.
Right. You guys, Anthony cooks so much. It's so good. Like, we don't eat out nearly as much as we used to.
Exactly. But like the past 2 months have been growth, just self-reflection. It's been good. So we're back into the swing of things. We're going to keep talking to you guys, and it's good. So just know things are going well in the Garcia household. Continue to keep us in your thoughts, prayers, whatever you do, light a candle for us, whatever it is.
Oh my God.
We don't discriminate, whatever. But we're glad that you guys are on this journey with us. And literally everything's going to be out in the open. So all I care about for myself is that I cried. And you guys know that I cried. So that's it. No,
hopefully they didn't catch the closet sex on camera, though.
Mom, I mean, dang, girl. Well, we don't have sex anymore because you started your period. So
oh no, you guys, this is the craziest
so freaking
thing.
Gross, man.
I started my period last month.
You should literally start a petition to stop periods. It's so disgusting.
No, in the past month I've had my period 3 times now, so I'm probably dying.
This wasn't on the docket. Okay.
I'm probably not. I'm probably
Guys,
dying.
Whatever. Let it go.
Let it go.
Okay. But we're gonna give you a little bit longer than normal podcast just because it hasn't been a long time.
Yeah.
And we went through something else, and it was scary. We were nervous. We were an emotional wreck. It was deja vu.
Yeah.
And it was with Brooklyn. From what Brooklyn was, we've noticed it from day one.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's always had a weird ridge on the top of her head, like a bump.
Especially when she was a baby and had no hair.
No hair,
really
you could even see it.
Yeah.
We brought it up to the pediatrician, and they kind of shrugged it off.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's fine.
And then we went, obviously Brooklyn's older than Deuce, so this was even prior to Deuce.
Yeah.
Deuce goes through his whole cranial thing, goes through the surgeries.
We brought it up again to the pediatrician.
Brought it up again, and no, that's nothing. Fast forward, she's now 6 years old. We noticed she kind of has a bump on her forehead.
And it's getting bigger and bigger.
Exactly.
To where, like, now I'm noticing it in photos and
things
wasn't
like that.
before.
So we're like, something's not right. We need to get her checked out. Well, we live in this wonderful town called Gilbert, Arizona now. We got a new pediatrician.
Yeah.
Hey, let's bring it up. And he refers us to
a neurosurgeon.
The same people that worked on Deuce.
Yeah.
And with Deuce, when we got the referral to go from the pediatrician to the Phoenix Children's Hospital, it was like a month wait, wasn't it? It was like a super long wait.
I called the neurosurgeon and they said the soonest appointment they had available was 3 weeks.
With Deuce.
With Deuce, yeah.
Right? So
and this is for a kid that we already knew
he needed surgery. Like, we knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, like, we went to the appointment, I think it was on a Thursday. Mm-hmm. And the pediatrician's like, hey, call them on Monday. Give them time to put everything in the system to set up your appointment. Okay, cool. We get a call the next day.
Yeah.
From Phoenix Children's Hospital saying, hey, we need you guys to come in
on Monday.
ASAP. That was Monday. So obviously we're freaking out because we knew Deuce needed surgery. We knew something wasn't right.
And it still took 3 weeks. Yeah.
And so we went through that weekend shitting ourselves. And for me, it was like, I feel like I couldn't really express how I felt to Bethany because I know she's really emotional and sensitive. So if I was feeling down and negative about the situation
and emotional and sensitive, it would
affect her even worse. So like I have to put up this front like, hey, everything's gonna be okay. I'm trying to find,
but I could even tell with you, like, I'm not that stupid. Like, I literally could feel the energy of you like being terrified about it.
So we're freaking out. Monday comes, and in the easiest way possible, say, hey, it's probably a tumor.
Yeah.
It doesn't look cancerous, though.
Yeah, they said it looks like a benign tumor. And we need to go, though, and they don't know for sure. And she said, like, we can't give you a definitive diagnosis until you get a CT scan, but we need to get this taken care of today.
So we do a CT scan Monday, and
we did that same day.
Trying to look for that silver lining. You know, hey, a tumor, but at least it's not a cancerous tumor, right?
Yeah.
Trying to find anything to make the situation.
But then at the same time, it's like, we don't know. Like, she's saying that, but maybe she's just saying that to like make us feel better.
Exactly.
Until we have the results. And like, of course, we start Googling, or I started Googling, and I was just like not loving the answers I was finding, and I was just freaking terrified. And then it took so long.
Okay, so it was like a day or two later, and Bethany called. I'm like, Bethany, stop calling.
He thinks I called once. I literally called 5 or 6 times.
I know, but I'm like, Beth, like, if there's something they're gonna tell us, like,
yeah,
these aren't, like, you just be patient. They probably got busy, who knows. But Bethany just wants to bug. But luckily Bethany called, because apparently there was some sort of mix-up.
Yeah,
and
I got lost.
The imaging forgot to send the scans and whatever. So Bethany's persistence finally paid off for us.
Finally.
So Bethany goes to the gym. Mm-hmm. Shout out my boy Eric. If you're in Gilbert and you need a personal trainer, hit him up. Right? Northington Fitness
and Nutrition.
I can't stand him, but he's amazing. Anyway, so Bethany goes to her PT session, comes back, and she's just crying. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, well, what happened? You know, I'm freaking out. She's like, the doctor called me. I'm like, oh shit. Like, no, you know.
Okay, like, can I just say what my phone call was, though? So she calls me. No, they called while I was working out, and I missed it. So I called on the way back home. It's a 2-minute drive. And she says, and it's like actually the neurosurgeon that called. So I'm talking to her on the phone, and she's like, I have good news for you. There's not, like, it's nothing. It's not a tumor. It's nothing. It's literally the bone. The way the bone grew, it's overlapping. And, you know, it might grow bigger. It might not get bigger. Like, we'll keep an eye on it. But as of this point right now, nothing needs to be done. It's not a tumor. It's just bone.
Hallelujah.
And I'm like, I started crying immediately on the phone with her, because I'm just like, okay, so nothing, like, we don't need to come back. Like, nothing needs to be done. Like, we're okay. Like, I was fully prepared that my daughter had a cancerous tumor in her head. I was fully prepared for that, because let me tell you why. With Deuce, it was bad news, bad news, bad news, bad news. He was supposed to be fixed, and then it was more bad news. It was never anything positive, never anything good. I feel like I had to give up hope so many different times. And we get this call, and it's literally nothing but good news. And my body was overcome with like this peace and relief. And I think it really was relief to where I couldn't stop crying. Like, I was a mess, and I was bawling probably for like a good 2 hours. I could not stop crying. And then Anthony's mom shows up, and then it's just like, because she was babysitting the kids that night, and I couldn't stop crying. I was just so relieved that there was nothing wrong with her after everything we've been through. And I think it was probably like a lot of PTSD too from everything we did go through with Deuce, and I was so scared to have another child go through all of that pain.
So that was probably the most amazing thing to happen.
Yeah.
And
what did she say about it?
I kept telling her like, oh, because once we took her to the pediatrician, she like started noticing the bumps on her head and stuff, and I was like, well, you're just extra smart, you know.
Yeah,
like
she says she has an extra bone because she's extra smart.
Yeah, so she tells people she's got an extra bone because she's super smart. So, but for those that didn't know, now you know. To our family and friends really close that knew, thank you guys for your thoughts, prayers, support, good vibes. But we don't have to go through head issues again.
Thank God.
We're amazing. We're ecstatic. Like Bethany said, we were so used to bad news that the good news definitely took us by surprise.
Yeah.
And we're just enjoying each other's company. Don't know if Brooklyn will be playing any tackle football, if her head will fit in any helmets, but we'll cross that hurdle when we get there. But lastly, I think obviously if you've made it this far to the podcast, you are a supporter of Bethany, of our family, of what we do, how we operate, and I feel like you would kind of understand what we do and the process,
right?
You know, for us, you know, why we do what we do.
Yeah, and I try to be, I feel like, especially if you watch my Instagram stories, I try to be as open and honest as possible. Like if someone asks me, you know, how Anthony gets to stay at home and like what do I do for a living, I'm completely honest in that the Garcia Diaries supports our family, and that through the content that I create, like I don't even like to call myself like an influencer or blogger, like I hate those terms, but I really am a digital content creator, and through the content, like I get paid for the content that I create.
Literally, you know, without you guys, people don't want to work with Bethany, but because, you know, we have people that are loyal followers and interact, and without you guys,
this isn't
none of this
what it
happens.
is, yeah.
And I feel like Bethany's been very transparent in that, and also I'll say, like, I feel like you've done a really good job in selling out but staying legit.
What?
As bad as that sounds, because like
I feel like
I'm saying like you take sponsored posts, like you do sponsored content,
yeah,
but you've always tried to
be true to myself.
Exactly, incorporate those things into your everyday life.
Because you know how many times I've received a product that I'm supposed to get paid to post about, and I'm like, I don't like this. This doesn't work. This doesn't work for our family, and I'll turn down the money for it.
Or how many potential deals
I say no to.
Weight Watchers.
Yeah, Weight Watchers will not stop emailing me.
But
not gonna happen.
Like Bethany went through a situation to where someone had agreed to it was like a partnership, right?
Yeah, and I kind of like alluded to it on Instagram stories a little when I was going through it. I was just kind of saying like I was having a really shitty blogging night, and I had showed like a screenshot from Anthony that said that he had texted me saying know your worth, and it really just was a horrible freaking night. I was so upset because there's only been a few times in my 5+ years of doing this that I've had someone like treat me this way, and so it was really frustrating, and like I literally felt like, I don't want to say like a fraud, but like unworthy, or I don't know, she just made me feel so shitty about myself that it was a really hard night. So without going into like super crazy details of like the name and service and stuff, like I'm just gonna, because I don't want to blast her business, because
una pelo.
Because at the end of the day, I did love the service that she gave me, and I think she did an amazing job. I don't think she understood influencer marketing whatsoever, because basically she promised me these certain services in exchange for me posting about it. I did like 25+ stories, I did an IGTV video, I did Instagram posts, and like for me, doing those things takes a lot of time. Like, especially when I'm doing this in exchange for the service and I'm not getting paid.
Exactly.
Like for every other big brand out there, I would take the product, I would take the service, and on top of that, I charge a fee. And so I was doing this basically for free. And I think in her mind, I was sitting there getting a service and doing like nothing for it. I don't know. Like, I'm guessing that was her perspective based on like what happened. And in my mind, I'm sitting here and I have to spend 6 hours editing an IGTV video. I'm doing all these stories. I'm writing all this content. I'm creating all these images for her. And I did convert a lot of clients for her, just not the clients she wanted. Like, she wanted a specific kind of client. It was just a mess. And she basically said, like, I don't want to do these services for free anymore, and I'm going to charge you $400 for when you need to come every 6 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, wait, what? Like, I can't, not even that I can't afford that, but maybe my decision going into it would have been different if I had known that that's how much it was going to cost me. And I basically explained to her that, like, based on all the content I created and everything that I had done, you know, I would have charged any other brand out there, any large brand, like between $9,000 and $12,000. And that's even hard for me to say because, like, I really do love supporting small businesses and other women. But, like, I felt literally so unappreciated, and, like, all of that hard work I had done was for nothing, and, like, it really hurt my feelings, you know? I was literally sobbing. Like, I was so upset because I felt so unappreciated and, like, unworthy. And then I kind of, like, had to pull myself together, like, okay, this isn't personal, this is business, and she obviously doesn't understand how this works. And so, like, I need to just pull myself together and move forward and not, like, harp on it. But my feelings were really hurt, and I think it is a problem when, like, my brand is me, is I do take things so personally versus just viewing it as business. And that's where Anthony comes in and has to, like, tell me things.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Bethany, when you go into a business deal, make sure you understand if it's a long-term partnership, if it's a short-term partnership, everything.
Yeah,
and I didn't commit to something.
Right. My big mistake there was not having a contract because I thought, like, oh, we're just doing trade, like, it's cool, she's nice, like, that was my bad.
But for those of you who look and see Bethany and think it's just so easy, you just gotta understand, like, it's a lot of work, a lot of, well, no longer late nights because you work during the day, but Bethany does it. We do everything at video, like, nothing gets outsourced.
Yeah,
we don't pay anyone to do anything. And so, you know, it may look like it's just posting a picture, getting some free product, getting some moolah. It's a lot of work. It's modern day advertising. That's what it is.
Yeah. And the thing that drives me crazy too is the amount of money that she would have had to pay to get a billboard or whatever, like, giving me that service and getting just as much clients.
Yeah, you are more than a billboard. Don't shoot yourself short.
But it's so much cheaper to pay to give influencers or bloggers free services, or even to pay them. It's so much cheaper than getting a magazine ad or a billboard.
Yeah.
And you're getting just as much return on investment or clients or whatever you want out of it. And the thing for me too is that I think people don't understand is, like, my job is to get eyes on her page. It's not to get her clients. My job is to get all the eyes on her page, which I did. Once the people are over on her page, it's her job to convert them into clients based on her content, based on how she's treating people, based on what she's posting, and all the people that were going into her business for smaller treatments or services. She could have easily turned those into, you know, long-term clients. Like, all of that and the way she nurtures her people, like, that's on her. That's your part of the business. My job is to get all the eyes there, to get the people through the door. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, and so I think that just wasn't understood on her end, which for me is really frustrating because I put so much time and energy and effort into it for free, and just felt like shit in the end.
Good. Got that off your chest? You feel better now?
A little bit.
A little vent sesh there.
Yeah, but it would have made me feel better if I could just
we're not petty over here. So
yeah, but I would love to go back and just not have done it, but it's fine.
But it's all good. You live and you learn.
That's the thing, though, that I was telling my friend today, like, Anthony's like, oh my God, more. I was telling my friend today, though, like, I wouldn't go on Instagram stories and be like, no one should go to this girl, like, she sucks. Because at the end of the day, she was amazing. Like, her work is impeccable. She's great at what she does. And I loved it. She just doesn't understand influencer marketing at all. Like, that's her downfall.
Well, I think that that's a wrap.
Oh my gosh.
But
yeah, we got so much off our chest.
I'm going to leave you with this. Wise words from a young man named Anthony. Can you put some like of that music, like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo?
You want me to start the outro music?
So, everyone goes through shitty situations, scenarios that suck, maybe even had a shitty upbringing. But we have to acknowledge those, understand they happen, but we can't use them as a crutch, because sometimes we get so caught up in, what happened, that it causes us to not be the best version of ourselves, or it enables us to
make excuses
and act in a certain way. I think that we would be much, much better people, better off as a society, as a whole, if we just continued to press on, move forward. Don't ever forget the past, but also don't dwell on it. And I know I can speak on that from personal experience. So if you learned or got anything out of this, it's, hey, gotta put the pedal to the metal. Gotta put the pedal to the metal. Move forward, because as a parent, young adult, whoever you are, life keeps going. And I don't know anyone I've never met anyone, talked to anyone who wants to keep up crappy situations, shitty situations. So, move on, move forward. And that's what I got for you today. Wise words from a young man named Anthony.
Is that your new segment or something?
That's just for today.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Garcia Diaries, at Sir Garcia Diaries, and at The Garcia Diaries Podcast.
Add me on PlayStation Network.
Oh my God,
Lord
do not.
Dilf.
Oh my God.
The kids go to bed at 7. Bethany takes a bath, so I'll be on the sticks.
Oh my God.
So if you want to play with me,
please stop.
We would play video games with me. Lord Dilf PlayStation.
I thought it's Lord Dilf 03.
Lord Dilf 03.
Oh my God. Okay.
Lord Dilf 03.
We would love your 5-star reviews, but I totally understand if after that that's not possible.
Hey, I told Beth, you can make money off of blogging. If you let me play video games enough, I can eventually start making some money. But
what are you talking about?
She hasn't bitten the bullet on that one yet. So
you get money for playing video games?
Yeah, the Fortnite guy just won like $13 million in a tournament.
Oh my God. And how much time per week does he dedicate?
Would you care if you had $13 million in your bank account?
Yes, I would rather have you here taking care of my kids so that I can work. Anyways, we would love your 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you want to leave a review like on Spotify, wherever there's a chance for that, that's awesome. That helps our content get seen by other people and helps us gain more viewers and listeners. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you next week. Because we're back.
We're doing weekly?
Yeah.
I thought it was bi-weekly.
Oh yeah, bi-weekly. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Peace.
It's your Garcia Diaries.